Tonight, power knocked out for thousands as our heat wave peaks. Temperatures into the 40s made even worse by extreme humidity.
Panic buying begins in Townsville ahead of the growing cyclone threat in the north.
Police swoop in the dramatic end to a major manhunt for an armed suspect on the north side.
Cricket Australia bats away criticism after taking a stand against Australia Day for the Gabba Test.
The major supermarkets under fire again as discarded trolleys clog the southeast waterways.
And a big day for our littlest students as school starts for 2024.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Sharyn, Ghidella and Max Futcher.
Good evening. The southeast has sweltered through the hottest day of a brutal heatwave.
While the mercury climbed to the high 30s, it felt more like 41 degrees in Brisbane. The humidity made it extra uncomfortable, especially for thousands of residents who lost power.
In the midst of a heatwave, Gary Klein is racing to restore power at his Gold Coast cafe.
40 degrees, no power. No reasoning why.
A month after Christmas Day storms knocked out power for weeks, thousands were again in the dark in Holywell, Runaway Bay and Upper Coomera as parts of the state sweltered into the high 40s.
Whole block went out, checked the fuses and not working.
Tonight set to be a record-breaking strain on the state's energy supply.
We can assure Queenslanders that there remains adequate supply of power.
Across the day, workers were feeling it.
7:30 already sweating, but well, someone's got to do it.
Brisbane's 35 degrees felt more like 41, temperature gauges recording scorching heat at the Springfield Mater Hospital project and at the Albert Street Cross River Rail site where workers walked off the job.
On the Cross River Rail project itself, a few thousand would have left site by now with extreme heat.
The hottest place in Queensland was Birdsville, where it felt like 47.5 degrees. Urandangi near the Northern Territory border also hit a feels like 47. Amberley and Archerfield, where it was 37 degrees, felt more like 42. And in Gatton too, feeling 5 degrees above the actual temperature. Poolside temperatures there reaching 44 degrees.
62 years old and it's never been this hot.
It'll be one of the busiest days of the year today.
Paramedics experiencing a 20% spike in calls today as crippling humidity consumed Queensland. Keeping an eye on our elderly is important even after the heatwave passes. Paramedics warn the elevated temperatures exacerbate underlying illnesses, which can be felt days later.
So there'll be strokes, there'll be exacerbation of their chronic lung disease.
Tricare's Stafford Lakes residents keeping cool and safe. Tonight there are 22,700 homes across the southeast without power as these storms bring a cooler reprieve from the heat. Lightning strikes are now contributing to the outages, while here in Brisbane almost 12,000 homes have lost power as Energex crews works to restore it as quickly as possible. We can expect a muggy night before that cooler change is felt tomorrow, a forecast of 29 degrees before the temperatures creep up again a little later in the week.
Jacqueline Robson reporting. Supermarket shelves have been stripped bare as the state's north prepares for tropical cyclone Kirrily.
The system is expected to be named tomorrow and hit the coast within days.
She's not yet even formed, but Kirrily is making her presence known. Supermarket shelves in the state's north showing the telltale signs of an approaching cyclone.
We've got to say, you need to be prepared. Now, that doesn't mean to say you've got to go out and deplete Coles and Woolies of all their toilet paper.
Residents stocking up for what's coming, a possible severe Category 3 system.
We have issued a tropical cyclone watch, meaning that we could see impacts within 48 hours along the coast of Queensland.
800 kilometres off the coast, but with sights now firmly set on land. Current best predictions has her crossing between Innisfail and Airlie Beach on Thursday.
This is why we ask the community, please just prepare. Make sure you've got enough tinned food. If you've got a generator, make sure it's operating and you've got fuel to run it.
It's a worry for communities hit by last month's Cyclone Jasper and those still assisting the recovery.
Our biggest concern really is the fatigue that our volunteers and our emergency services have been experiencing.
The effects of Kirrily are expected to be felt long after the cyclone hits the coast, with the threat reaching all the way to the southeast. The system is forecast to track south after making landfall, bringing intense and possibly dangerous rainfall
to this part of the state.
A metre of rain possible in some parts, the flooding threat throughout the state.
Anyone from Innisfail right through to the Gold Coast border, this isn't the time to be complacent.
With the year's first cyclone approaching. Joel Dry, 7 News.
And Tony Auden, the latest track update has a big change.
Yes, Max. The track itself is fairly similar, but the cyclone watch has now been extended all the way from St Lawrence up towards Cairns. This means we could see those impacts in that area between 24 and 48 hours. Now, the low hasn't been looking all that impressive earlier in the day, but cloud has been steadily building over the last couple of hours. Here we have this cloud spiralling in around the centre with some squally showers and storms on its edge here visible on the Willis Island radar. Now, looking ahead, here is the plan. The low should be named Cyclone Kirrily tomorrow, as we've heard, then continue intensifying, eventually making landfall as a Category 3 system on Thursday, most likely into Thursday afternoon or evening. As always, we do still have some uncertainty with this forecast track as shown by the grey area here. The most likely crossing location for now is near or just south of Townsville, but we have that uncertainty area from Innisfail to Airlie Beach. All eyes on the Coral Sea. I'll be back soon with the latest forecasts and warnings.
Thank you, Tony. A major hunt for a wanted man on Brisbane's north side has ended in a dramatic roadside arrest.
Our police! Our police! Our police! Take a breath. You're under arrest by virtue of an arrest warrant.
The 30-year-old was on the run for 10 days with the public warned he was armed and dangerous. Well, let's bring in Rachel Baxter now. And Rachel, he was caught after a wild chase ended in Narangba.
Good evening, Sharyn. That's right. It all began when police started tracking a stolen motorbike on Saturday night. Behind the wheel, police say it was Lane Marwick. The 30-year-old has been on the run, wanted for armed robbery and weapons offences. Polaire followed him for 3 hours before Marwick abandoned the bike and approached two people in a parked car. It's alleged he threatened them at knife point before stealing their vehicle. He then headed north to the Bruce Highway. Police finally intercepting him with tyre spikes at Narangba. He was arrested and charged with a number of offences, including 2 counts of willful damage, armed robbery, unlicensed driving and failing to wear a motorbike helmet. He did face Pine River's Magistrates Court today and remains behind bars, and he will front court again next month. Sharyn.
Thank you. Rachel Baxter there.
A man has been run down and 2 cars have exploded into flames during a chaotic night in Logan. Neighbours say they heard screaming as one of the vehicles careered into a home, causing the fireball.
The flames were frightening from afar,
but it's gotten out of hand.
But terrifying when they're burning next door. A car ablaze in Park Ridge when police say a violent hit and run met a fiery end.
I looked out the curtains and there was just exploded, and I've never seen anything like it.
Neighbours say they heard commotion just before 9:30 last night.
There was swearing and then I heard a bang.
We've run to the front door. There's a woman screaming for help and a guy just wailing, obviously in pain.
He'd just been mowed down metres from his own home.
Noticed that his foot is not attached to his leg anymore.
By an out-of-control car that smashed into the garage before catching fire and engulfing another parked vehicle.
It didn't take long for the fire to take hold, and then seemed wild because the tyres popping.
Paramedics rushed the victim to the PA hospital in a serious condition as detectives worked to understand why he was targeted.
It's not known what exactly sparked this violent attack and who is responsible. After slamming through the garage, the driver ran from the fiery scene and remains on the run.
When something like that happens in real life, it's almost like it's not real.
The reality, an ugly one for a dangerous driver as police close in. Garth Burley, 7 News.
Cricket Australia will not use the term Australia Day during the Gabba test on Friday. The move has divided opinion, stirring up debate in the lead-up to January 26.
When politics and sport collide.
The vast majority of Australians want Australia Day.
We need to stop looking for areas in which we can be outraged.
Cricket Australia won't use the term Australia Day during the Gabba test against the West Indies. Day 2 falls on the public holiday, set to be marked in passing by the ground announcer.
I think it's a way of, again, showing respect to go out there, play cricket. It's the 26th of January.
and that's all we sort of see it as.
Much like the day itself, the decision has divided opinion.
I'm totally in support of it. I think Australia Day is more like Invasion Day, to be honest.
Personally, I don't agree with that. I think, it's Australia Day. It's, you want to play cricket, but to keep the politics out of cricket.
After furore and flare attacks on Woolworths following the grocer's decision not to stock Australia Day merchandise, the Premier holds concerns.
I just really urge politicians to watch their language because it really can lead to violence and people could get hurt.
Cricket Australia says they want to acknowledge the day means different things to different people, encouraging all to enjoy the cricket while being inclusive and respectful of each other. Stadium officials warn while clothing supporting competing nations is fine, racist, political, insightful or insulting clothing is not. Sally Geit, 7 News.
A pilot has walked away uninjured after a failed landing at Maryborough Airport this morning. The aircraft was performing a touch-and-go takeoff when it hit the tarmac and skidded across the runway. It suffered extensive damage, including a badly bent propeller. The Aviation Transport Safety Bureau is investigating.
The man branded Australia's most crooked cop, Roger Rogerson, has died. Once a hero of the New South Wales Police Force, he was ultimately jailed for murder. He died in hospital, leaving the mystery of at least 3 unsolved killings.
He's been labelled Australia's most corrupt cop, accused of not only taking money, but multiple lives as well.
Did you want her dead? No. Out of the way?
No. Former Detective Roger Rogerson, dead at 83 of a brain aneurysm.
It was a lifetime of, in many cases, dishonour to the New South Wales Police Force.
You cannot understate how powerful and a frightening man Rogerson was in the 70s and the 80s.
His fame grew when he shot 2 Crims dead in the 70s, but it was the shooting of drug dealer Warren Lanfranchi that raised serious questions. From Lanfranchi's family, zero sympathy today.
A murderer, a drug dealer, and eventually proven to be a serial killer.
From his biographer,
extraordinarily corrupt, extraordinarily violent, a multi-killer.
The subject of endless coverage, documentaries, TV shows, books. Another due soon from Neil Mercer, who says Rogerson's downfall was befriending the Crims he should have imprisoned.
He got incredibly close to those guys. It's pretty clear he got too close to them.
Dismissed from the force in '86, Rogerson would eventually serve 4 prison terms. His last, life for the bungled murder of drug dealer Jamie Gow, every moment captured on CCTV, the dumped body floating back to the surface. And even in death, Roger Rogerson faces further inquiries. First, a prison's investigation, then a coronial inquest, both standard procedure for any inmate that dies in custody. But as for his criminal dealings,
on the advice of my lawyer, I'm saying nothing at this point.
Those secrets gone to the grave. Chris Reason, 7 News.
3 men and 2 women have been critically injured in a head-on crash in Logan Central. It happened on Barden Road around 11 last night when a red sedan collided with an oncoming van. Witnesses raced to the wreckage as it burst into flames.
I put out the fire and there was people already taking a couple of people out, and there was one guy that was trapped in there. There was no way we were getting them out.
Paramedics say the 5 patients were placed into an induced coma and taken to hospital.
The company at the centre of the crippling ports dispute has revealed the backlog of shipping containers has now grown to more than 54,000. Representatives of DP World faced a parliamentary inquiry today, saying businesses and consumers are facing long delays for goods.
We estimate that it will take between 2 to 8 weeks for those containers to get to their destination of choice.
The company claims the pay dispute is costing the economy $84 million a week.
Middle income earners will be the priority when Labor MPs meet in Canberra on Wednesday for cost of living crisis talks. It's only added to speculation Anthony Albanese could ditch tax cuts for Australians on high incomes.
For David and Lynn Cooper, every trip to the shops is like a slap in the face.
You don't get much for your money now. Nah.
Like many Australians, they're having to go without.
It's hard to get by.
Labor MPs told to get to Canberra on Wednesday for urgent cost of living talks. But there's no shortage of ideas what they could be doing to help.
Petrol's a big one.
The cost for rent
that's one of the biggest issues.
The Prime Minister confirming caucus will discuss new advice from Treasury with low and middle income earners to benefit most.
If we can find ways to put extra dollars in people's pockets, then we're prepared to do so.
But the opposition claims it will cost $500,000 to get the MPs and their staff to the capital, just 2 weeks before Parliament resumes for the year.
And this is not about a cost of living issue, it's about a political Academy Award issue where you can have the cameras rolling as they walk in.
Even if it is that amount of money, I think that's money well spent when it comes to providing the cost of living relief that Australians are demanding.
While more energy bill subsidies are likely, the government's hosing down speculation it's about to alter the Stage 3 tax cuts by reining in rebates for those on more than $180,000 a year. It's also being urged to dump tax breaks for property investors. Advocates argue negative gearing and capital gains concessions are propping up the private rental market and inflating the cost of housing.
Take action on these tax handouts and make housing more affordable for everybody.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
There's a grim milestone in the Middle East with the Hamas-run health ministry claiming 25,000 people have now died in Israel's campaign in the Gaza Strip. Israel continues to carry out airstrikes as it seeks to free hostages still being held by Hamas in tunnels beneath the Palestinian territory. The Israeli military has also released new video of what it says are strikes on Hezbollah positions in Lebanon. The summer holidays are over and school's back for 2024. Hundreds of thousands of young Queenslanders returned to the classroom today. They were there first day nerves for some and plenty of excitement for others.
At Almost State School, it's double the trouble, multiplied by 5.
Who's your brother?
James.
Yeah, where's James?
5 sets of twins, all starting prep.
Do you feel for the teachers trying to pick them apart?
Oh, good luck to them.
At Greenbank, identical triplets Mia, Harley and Chloe defied the odds. The trio was born 2 months premature.
Very extreme, happy and sad.
We are going to move down and teach Miss Clark.
575,000 students have returned to state schools across Queensland today, 43,000 of those in prep, beginning their 13-year education journey.
These kids are about to have the time of their lives.
Today, just as bittersweet for the big kids now in high school. How are you feeling today?
A little bit nervous, but yeah, I'm excited to start high school.
My youngest boy's off, so no, it's good, it's exciting. It's good for him.
More than 300,000 Catholic and private school students join them tomorrow.
We can't wait to see their faces, to hear about their adventures in the holidays.
Including 46 new preppies at St Finbarr's at Ashgrove in brand new classrooms.
It's such a privilege for me to know that I've got these little hearts and minds with me, and they'll come back and visit me as I grow old and grey.
It's that age where you see so much growth from the start of the year to the end of the year. You see how far they've come.
Shaping our future generations. Adam McGraw, 7 News.
Coming up, airport crash chaos. A security car hits a Jetstar plane. The driver's narrow escape.
A new health scare for the royal family. Sarah Ferguson's cancer shock.
Southeast supermarkets under fire over dumped trolleys.
And daddy daycare. The push for fathers to be more involved.
On 7 News, families joining forces to cut grocery bills.
We can save sort of anywhere between 10 and 30%.
Boosting buying power to save thousands. The new budget-saving trend taking off. 7 News, coming up soon.
Lawyers for Wallaby star and accused rapist Kurtley Beale say security video to be played during his trial is in contrast to the woman's allegations. The 35-year-old denies he preyed on the woman inside a Bondi Beach pub in December 2022. His alleged victim will begin her evidence tomorrow. The trial is expected to run for 2 weeks.
The Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, has been diagnosed with skin cancer. She's undergoing more tests, but it's thought to be aggressive and comes just 6 months after she discovered she had breast cancer.
After spending Christmas at Sandringham with the royal family, her first in more than 30 years, the Duchess declared on New Year's Eve that she was cancer-free. Now this.
We have just learnt that Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, has been diagnosed with malignant melanoma.
Here we are just 3 weeks later and she has a new cancer battle on her hands.
Her surgeon removed several moles during breast reconstruction surgery after a mastectomy. One was a deadly and aggressive melanoma.
This would have been particularly distressing.
Her battle with breast cancer has been painful and very public.
It wasn't a lump. I had a shadow. It was like a splat.
Suffering the same mental anguish that around 20,000 Australian women are forced to confront every year.
Oh my goodness, I've got to have a mastectomy, and you look it up and it's all so terrifying, and this is what's going to happen, and then I'm not going to see my grandchildren grow up.
Of this latest diagnosis, a spokesperson says the Duchess remains in good spirits, but it's distressing, and her message no doubt remains the same.
Please go get your screening. Please.
In London, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
A worker at Sydney Airport has crashed his car into the engine of a Jetstar plane while the aircraft was being towed. It happened early this morning, with photos showing one side of the vehicle partly crushed. There were no passengers on board the aircraft at the time and the driver wasn't hurt. Engineers are checking the plane as a precaution.
A miracle escape in a high-speed hoon crash. The moment a BMW flips in a suburban street. Incredible video is next.
Surprise predictions for the southeast property market.
The casual work conundrum facing millions of Australians.
And how families are joining forces to cut grocery bills. Police are hunting for hoons after a terrifying high-speed crash in Melbourne. The driver was drifting when the BMW flipped several times. Security video shows the moment the driver lost control, his car obliterating a tree. Incredibly, no one was hurt and the driver remains on the run.
Unit prices will soon outstrip houses. That's according to surprise new real estate predictions. Experts say the Gold Coast, Townsville and Cairns could soon overtake Brisbane for property growth.
No longer just a tourism mecca, this stretch of coast now has the most expensive regional real estate in the country.
They would go, it's a cheap place to have a holiday home in. Now they go, this is the place I want to live.
The Gold Coast, a star performer, outpacing Brisbane in the past financial year with property prices rising 2.4%.
Queensland is receiving an uptick in overseas migration.
Since bottoming out in late 2022, Brisbane's median house price is forecast to lift 5.9% this financial year, the third strongest increase behind Perth and Adelaide. And it's predicted units will grow ahead of houses.
Overseas migration settles more in the apartment stock and kind of adds more to that, the pressure for that particular build form.
Population growth, interest rate cuts, growing land constraints and the 2032 Olympics are behind the increase across Queensland.
People coming here for students to study, to retirees and everybody in between.
By June 2026, the median house price on the Gold and Sunshine Coast are forecast to rise by up to 6.5%, remaining more expensive than Brisbane. Cairns and Townsville are other hotspots with predicted rises of nearly 6%, outpacing the state's capital. Great news for sellers and even tighter squeeze for buyers. Katrina Blowers, 7 News.
Indonesia's Mount Merapi has erupted, forcing thousands of people to flee from their homes on the slopes of the volcano. Lava has travelled up to 2 kilometres from the volcano's rim, and ash has blanketed several villages on the densely populated island of Java. Mount Merapi is Indonesia's most active volcano. Russian authorities say at least 25 people have died in a Ukrainian artillery attack on the city of Donetsk in the occupied region of eastern Ukraine. The city's Russian-installed mayor says the shells landed close to shops and a market. There's been no comment from Ukraine.
Donald Trump has now vanquished all but one of his Republican challengers, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis ending his run for presidency. Despite being ridiculed for years by the former president, he's now thrown his support behind Trump.
once seen as his party's only hope of a future beyond Donald Trump.
We don't have a clear path to victory.
Today, Ron DeSantis' presidential. DeSantis throwing his weight now behind the polls.
Trump is superior to the current incumbent. He has my endorsement.
That's despite enduring years of Trump abuse.
Ron DeSanctimonious. I said that name is officially retired.
There were 14 people in this race, and now there are 2. I'm going to finish this.
2 days from now, we're going to win New Hampshire, and then we're going to defeat crooked Joe Biden.
Before Donald Trump even gets to the polls in New Hampshire, the Republican Party frontrunner will be here in this New York City courthouse. In just a few hours' time, the former president is expected to give evidence in a defamation trial involving a woman he was found liable of sexually assaulting.
We have every kind of case you could have. This is weaponization. This is election interference.
In New York City, David Woywood, 7 News.
New figures show almost 500,000 casual workers are struggling to transition into full-time jobs. Unions say on average they're paid less, with employers unwilling to make them permanent because of the cost.
Unable to apply for a rental property without permanent employment, Zach Fitzpatrick is living at home with his parents, stuck on a casual contract.
If you don't have permanent employment, it's very hard to find anyone that would be willing to kind of take you. There's no guarantee of work, obviously.
He's not alone. New data from the Bureau of Statistics reveals that of the 2.7 million casual workers nationwide, 500,000 who on average earn nearly $12 less an hour would prefer to be permanent.
Kind of take you. There's no guarantee of work, obviously.
He's not alone. New data from the Bureau of Statistics reveals that of the 2.7 million casual workers nationwide, 500,000 who on average earn nearly $12 less an hour would prefer to be permanent.
5% only of them have been able to get their jobs turned into permanent jobs. This is a crisis.
In 2021, the Morrison government changed the definition of casual. Employees unable to apply for permanent work for 12 months.
They like the flexibility, they like the casual loading. They make arrangements with their employers that work for them.
I guess employers see it as a greater expense to have permanent workers as a cheaper way and more flexible.
This year, the Albanese government is hoping to pass industrial relations legislation so workers can request permanent employment after 6 months instead of 12.
It means you've got a right to go to the independent arbitrator if it gets knocked back.
Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Denmark's King Frederick and Queen Mary have attended a celebratory church service. The new King and Queen were joined by their 4 children. It was Frederick's first official visit as King outside the capital, Copenhagen.
The war on dumped supermarket trolleys calls for locks to return as cranes are brought in to collect lost carts.
The high-profile dads demanding better paid parental leave for fathers.
And Queensland mine workers save a stranded baby emu. A group of eco-warriors is on a mission to clear our waterways of shopping trolleys. They're pulling out hundreds every year and want more supermarkets to introduce gold coin locks.
Waterlogged and entangled in scrub, these shopping trolleys are the eyesore of 6 Mile Creek.
Some of these have been here for probably 10, 15 years, so yeah, it'd be nice to get them out and have the creek flowing normally.
Ocean Crusaders today brought in a big weapon in their war on trolley dumping.
The floodwaters have really washed them in and made them pretty hard to remove.
19 carts were lifted from the water at Redbank Plains today. It's a sight Ian Thompson is used to.
We pull out around about 300 trolleys a year from across Australia.
Trolley dumping across the state has become so bad, Ocean Crusaders is calling for the gold coin lock to make a comeback.
They've got to stop them getting out here, and the old coin deposit scheme in the past, as we've seen it work with Aldi.
But the reception from shoppers is mixed.
So I'm used to the gold coin system, it doesn't bother me at all.
I just find them a nuisance. Sometimes it's hard to get the coins in and not a lot of people carry money anymore.
In a statement, Woolworths says it conducts regular sweeps to recover dumped trolleys. Coles says it does the same. In the meantime, residents are being urged to report illegal dumping.
Jump on Snap, Send, Solve. Send it in and that'll go to the shops, and hopefully if we get enough of them, they'll do something about it.
A small step to help keep our waterways clean. Lawrence Jeffcoat, 7 News.
A super yacht built for the creator of the iPhone has arrived on the Gold Coast. Venus sailed through the seaway this morning. At 79 metres long, it easily dwarfed every other vessel in the busy waterway. The boat was designed by Apple founder Steve Jobs. The $150 million craft is the biggest ever to tie up at the new super yacht terminal at Southport.
Mine workers west of Webcke have stuck their necks out to help a baby emu stranded in a muddy pit. They spotted the distressed bird at the end of a shift. After a couple of tries, they eventually managed to pull it free.
Queensland families are teaming up to save thousands on groceries. It's a growing trend as prices rise. How they're making it work, that story is just ahead.
But time now for sport, and Webby, you're at Carrara tonight for the one heat wave we want to see continue.
Yes, the big bash kind, Sharyn. Hello everyone. A boost for Brisbane just minutes away from taking the field here. While up the M1, our first look at the Gabba ahead of Thursday's test. Plus, hearts in mouths, a scare for the skipper at Broncos training. Reynolds left hobbling. The heat in a moment, but we'll start with breaking news surrounding Glenn Maxwell. Cricket Australia insist a boozy night gone wrong has nothing to do with his removal from the one-day squad. 7 News understands the World Cup star played a golf day in Adelaide on Friday after the first test, before moving on to a gig by Brett Lee's band 6 and Out. Some Australian test players were there, but they'd left before an ambulance was called to take Maxwell to hospital. The all-rounder is expected to be fine. Selectors say he's being managed due to injury, replaced by Jake Fraser-McGurk for the 3 one-dayers against the West Indies, which is a team that'll include also one of the Heat's best this year. The surprise call-up came as they battled the Adelaide Strikers here for back-to-back grand final appearances.
The team in teal with their talismanic captain there for moral support. Usman Khawaja officially cleared to play this week's test. No concussion gamble, but Charlie Wakeham is. Brisbane rolling the dice in sudden death, adding extra batting power as they hunt redemption from Friday night.
Mitch Swepson unfortunately misses out. He's been excellent for us all year. We just think the conditions the other night, we didn't need the 2 spins.
Big Bash's bowler of the summer, Xavier Bartlett, comes into the contest with an extra skip. 17 wickets at an average less than 15, rewarded with an ODI call-up, replacing an injured Jai Richardson.
Bit of a whirlwind, obviously very privileged and honoured to get the call. It was very unexpected as well, so it was nice. Top 3 batters have been a class all season. Matt Short's probably the player of the tournament. He's been great, so hopefully his wicket early will be really key.
This is the reason they're on the coast, that Gabba's in test mode. Our first look at the deck for Thursday's day-nighter with the Windies. Prep's not hampered by footy finals. It promises to be different from last year's 2-day South African affair.
It wasn't as much body last year, but yeah. So we'll still tone it down a little bit, take a mil or 2 off it, and hopefully she's a bit better this time around.
Yes, last year was in fast-forward mode, but I think with the pink ball as well, there's other conditions that come into it. The lights come on, it swings around.
Ben Davis, 7 News.
The Australian Open started with such hope for Alex de Minaur and ended in devastation. The quarterfinals are taking shape in Melbourne. 2-time champ Victoria Azarenka ousted by a qualifier. Medvedev and Zverev are through, while locals' hopes of a first men's champion in 48 years were dashed, along with the Demon.
Pain and heartbreak for the one that got away.
I'm sitting here and I'm absolutely devastated because I saw it as a great opportunity and a match that I strongly believe I could have won.
It's clear to see why. Alex de Minaur's rarely been better.
He got it. Oh, yeah. Around the net. Turn on the jets on the shoes.
Throwing everything at Andrei Rublev up 2-1. All it did was fire up the red-headed hothead.
The pressure cooker steaming, isn't it?
Not a match that I thought I lost physically. It was just that the racket was taken out of my hand.
The 5th seed dominating the last 2 sets, setting tongues wagging back in Russia. Into a third Oz Open quarter-final against Jannik Sinner, ending Australia's last chance.
Thank you for ruining every Australian's hope that we're going to have a Grand Slam champion. Thank you.
De Minaur's first still out of reach.
Maybe in the past I would have been somewhat content with the fourth round, but I thought I had more in me.
A day off for the defending champs, two-time winner Victoria Azarenka stunned by qualifier Diana Yastremska. James Manton, 7 News.
A huge sigh of relief at Red Hill after Adam Reynolds hobbled off the training paddock this morning. The skipper had hearts in mouths, rolling his ankle, stepping on a teammate's foot. Unable to put weight on it, the 33-year-old needed to be driven across the road for scans. Thankfully, they cleared him of any long-term damage, while this was a teammate's diagnosis.
I think it was an ankle, but I don't know, he might just be old.
The towering Xavier Willison's in the mix for a starting spot in the pack with the departure of Flegler, Capewell and Palacia.
Yeah, I'm just trying to put my best foot forward, and I bring my own attributes to the team.
You share those attributes?
Just a hard runner.
It's exactly a month today before they jump on the plane to Vegas. The Diamonds overcame England and a hostile London crowd to win a World Cup final rematch in netball's Nations Cup. Trailing by 2 in the final quarter, the Aussies just held their nerve to win 61-59.
We got overawed by the crowd and the emotion and the I guess, perceived pressure. So for us, it's about sticking to our game plan.
They have a 6-day break before facing Uganda. Once mocked as perennial losers, the Detroit Lions are one win from their first Super Bowl. 31-23 over the Buccaneers. They'll face the 49ers in their first NFC Championship game in 32 years. Sport's greatest love story goes on, and now Travis Kelce's brother, Jason's, crashing Taylor Swift's party.
Brother says, right on, that's Jason.
Kansas City beat Buffalo to reach their 6th straight AFC Championship game. Taylor and the newly retired Jason can cheer on Travis's Chiefs in Baltimore next week. Imagine being a 20-year-old amateur turning up to a PGA Tour event, including the world number 1, then going on to shoot 29 under par and winning by a shot. That's Nick Dunlap today, the first amateur winner on tour since Phil Mickelson 33 years ago.
It is so cool to be out here and experience this as an amateur, and I've learned so much today, and I'm so grateful to be here.
He wasn't eligible for the $2.3 million prize, and for now, it's back to college. Well, Sharyn and Max, conditions have cooled down beautifully here tonight for the big match with the Heat and Strikers. The Heat, of course, batting first. You can catch all the action right here on 7 after the news.
Oh, go the Heat. They so deserve to be in that grand final. Thank you very much, Webby. Well, time now for a check on the markets with Angela Cox. And the Australian share market started the week strongly.
Yes, 9 of our 11 sectors finished in the green. The ASX 200 closed 55 points higher. Tech and financial stocks jumped, so did the major banks. A tougher day for commodity stocks. Lithium shares were down across the board, but Liontown Resources really tanked. One Aussie dollar is buying just under 66 US cents. Iron ore prices slid. And China remained Australia's biggest customer for exports last financial year, up 13%, followed by Japan, South Korea, USA and India. Together, they take 63% of our exports.
Thanks, Ange. Some famous Aussie fathers have joined a campaign demanding better paid parental leave for new dads.
They say taking the financial heat off families would make it easier for men to be more involved in their youngsters' lives from the very beginning.
He's a familiar face to many kids, but Simon Price's most important role is being a father to his own.
It's ever-changing. You think you got it sorted, but you don't. It changes again.
He's banding together with other Wiggles and David McCormack, the voice of this very well-known dad.
You're the best dad in the world!
Really?
Yeah!
Calling for more support for all dads.
It's a problem in the sense that we haven't actually done enough in this space.
The Dads Alliance wants 12 weeks paid parental leave for fathers, allowing men to be more present and active in their kids' lives during the important early years.
It's deliberately designed to make sure that they participate.
They'd like to see an overhaul of childcare too, not exceeding $10 a day.
High quality early education and care for our children. Doesn't exist at the moment. We need that.
Within the early learning sector, less than 3% of workers are men. Advocates say the importance of male educators shouldn't be underestimated when it comes to a child's development.
Male educators sometimes bring a slightly different way of interacting with children, allowing that rough and tumble play that young children, thrive on.
The caring patterns that are set in the first year of a child's life persist over the course of their life.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
Now let's take a look at what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. Tomorrow on Sunrise, Queensland's weight loss drug war. The new challenger entering the market, promising the most effective results.
And beat the Bowser in 2024, the new way to find the cheapest petrol near you. See you in the morning.
The growing trend of bulk buying, how families are banding together to cut costs.
And the cooler change has arrived. I'll have the forecast and the latest on the cyclone threat coming up next.
The biggest worry for many Australians right now is having enough food to feed their families. Grocery bills are tipped to rise again this year, but buying in bulk can save you thousands.
For many families, the grocery bill is biting into the budget more and more. But there is a way buying big can save thousands.
We can save sort of anywhere between 10 and 30%, I think, with a lot of them, which is great.
Mums Rachel Blythe and Simone Evans take it in turns to bulk buy food online every fortnight, then divide it up between their families.
Majority of that sort of aisle in the supermarket that's filled with the school snacks you can buy and save money on.
It's a growing trend sparked by the cost of living crisis. On average, Aussie families spend almost $10,000 a year on groceries, and food prices are tipped to rise again in 2024 by around 1.5%.
Shoppers can save up to 10 to 50%, which, in real terms equates to hundreds to thousands of dollars a year.
The most popular groceries to buy in bulk are lunchbox fillers, including muesli bars, rice cakes and chips, along with coffee, almond milk and sports drinks, and household essentials like dishwasher tablets.
There should be more transparency on fair prices for food this year. The two major supermarkets are on notice as the watchdog investigates allegations of price gouging, and there's a separate review underway into the Grocery Code of Conduct.
Apps like Frugal and Wiselist can make that easier by allowing shoppers to compare prices across thousands of stores instantly. Christy Mayer, 7 News.
Weather time now, Tony. Extreme weather in the north and the south of the state at the moment.
Yes, Max, while we're watching the Coral Sea for Cyclone Kirrily to develop, severe heat and storms have been affecting the southeast, but the cooler change has arrived. It brought some cloud late this afternoon and thick haze. Brisbane barely visible from Mount Cootha here. A few storms inland this afternoon. The radar's picking up large hail in those cells, currently moving north towards Somerset Dam. Warnings have just been issued. Checking the numbers, it was a disgusting old night. Then the heat and humidity continued to build even further today. Brisbane's minimum of 25 degrees. It's just around on the map there. Felt more like 30 all night, a top of 36. Well, that felt more like 41 degrees at times. Zooming out, and a low in the Coral Sea is steadily developing, but still well below cyclone strength this evening. Lots of rugged looking cloud out there at the moment. It is expected to be named Cyclone Kirrily tomorrow, then intensify while approaching the Queensland coast, with landfall likely on Thursday afternoon or evening, most likely as a severe Category 3 system. Now, the current track is near or south of Townsville, with an uncertainty area running from Innisfail down towards Airlie Beach. A cyclone watch has now been issued from Cairns down towards St Lawrence, which means that impacts could be felt in this area within 48 hours. Onto the capital city forecast. A hot one in Adelaide tomorrow, up to 41 degrees. Melbourne, more comfortable on 29. Back to Queensland, severe to extreme heatwave conditions should persist over western parts of the state over the next 3 days. It does start to ease a little bit near the coast. For northern Queensland, hot and humid, tops of 35 degrees for Cairns and Townsville, 33 in Mackay. Heading south, some light passing showers for the coast and ranges south of Bundaberg. Cooler on the coast, but the heat remains inland, 44 degrees in Longreach. In the southeast, staying muggy behind that cooler change tonight, then mostly cloudy and much more comfortable tomorrow. Maybe a light shower possible here and there. Have a look at the change in temperatures here. Tops of 29 degrees along the bay side, similar inland. Bodie, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots on the bay, seas to 1.5 metres. So in Brisbane, cloudy skies for your Tuesday. A slim chance of a shower. Won't last long if you get a drop. 24 up to 29 degrees. That will be a nice change. Looking ahead, it's the same pattern across the southeast in coming days, gradually heating up into Wednesday and Thursday. Then we could start to see some precipitation off the tail end of Kirrily after landfall. A possible shower Friday, storms Saturday, maybe some rain lingering into Sunday. Sharyn and Max, a busy few days right across Queensland.
Thanks, Tony. That's all from us this Monday. Thanks for your company.
Updates throughout the evening, but for now, from all the team, good night.
Good night.